Ooh, that might have been the most satisfying one so far.
That was pretty.
That was man. 100th episode. 100th episode crack.
That was pretty. Thank you, Narragansett.
Yeah, thank you, Narragansett, Fresh Catch, for
for
giving us our 100th episode start with a pop top. You got the Master Sir John and Ganache sit with you 100 episodes in.
Yeah,
April 2017.
Shit.
Two guys get together to do a brand new podcast called Pint of Comics.
Yeah.
And, geez, we did a podcast before called From the Hip.
Thank you, Vinny. Thank you.
Yeah, and if you listened to our episode a little bit ago, at this point, probably about 7 or 8 episodes ago, you heard the origin story, so we won't get into that again. But here we are, 100 episodes in, and we figured let's do something a little bit different than a normal episode. You know us from hearing us talk about monsters and hand jobs and comic books and beer,
wow.
Yeah, and all that stuff. So maybe we'll talk a little bit about ourselves and have some questions asked.
Well, just like the 100th radio episode was a celebration.
Yeah,
this is also a celebration.
It's a celebration, bitches.
Different way.
It's a
You've
different
had
way.
your 100th radio episode?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're like on 115.
Where the hell were you?
Holy
Yeah.
shit. No,
The radio
I didn't know it was that high.
The radio went by much faster because there's literally almost never a week off.
Right.
Yeah.
We should have been on 100 podcasts like probably
Before
half a year ago, but because we're not so wizard here. I love those guys. So wizard. 265 at this point without a break weekly.
Yeah.
I give those guys all the credit in the world because
we're
I can't do
twice weekly, man.
We are twice weekly.
Not bi-weekly. Twice weekly.
Yeah. There are the weeks where I just can't edit the podcast and I put the radio episodes out. But it's a good opportunity to get the radio episode out to a larger audience.
Yeah,
so
those that didn't hear it at the time, or an older episode that you may have missed.
Yeah. We've done a couple that were like a year plus later.
Yep.
And Tom Baddock, the creator of Funky Winker Bean, and Curtis Spieler, the local independent horror movie director, both were like a year or 10 months later, and both were received really well when they were put out as podcasts.
And
They're funny.
Tom was like, "Oh, thanks for putting
it out."
They
were
were
both great. I love those episodes.
They were both great, and they were both funny because, like, specifically when you listen to them, I think one of them we were talking about how the Patriots had just lost the Super Bowl, even though in real time they had just won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It was
fun.
So some funny stuff. So we got some questions from our friends on Twitter, and then we kind of formulated some questions for each other, stuff that maybe we want to know between each other. So
know about each other.
So Lloyd, why don't you start? Why don't you pick one of us? Why don't you ask a question? And these questions can be personal. They could be about our preferences in pop culture, whatever they may be.
We have flayed ourselves bare.
That's right. That's right.
Do you want these are questions from ourselves or from the audience?
Let's do ours first. We'll finish off with the audience.
All right.
Our friends from the Twitterverse.
I wrote these down on a fucking email and forgot to send it or print it to myself. So
you are one forgetful motherfucker.
I am so fucking busy at work. You don't even remember how I used to text you at work all the time?
No, that's a good thing though, man.
Right? I don't do that anymore.
No,
right?
it's a good thing.
You'd never hear from me at work anymore.
I kind of started to feel like you didn't like me anymore, but that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. Question number 1 from me to you, Lloyd. Do you like me anymore?
I still love you.
Okay, all right. What's your first question, Lloyd?
First question. I'm going to ask John.
Okay,
right?
Sir John.
This is my first question for Sir John. All right? I've been teased. I've heard this sort of heard the story. What is it that you're writing? Like this project you're working on, when did it start and...
Which one?
That's what I'm asking. When is it coming out? What is it? Tell me a little more about it.
Well, again, I don't know which one it is. So if you're talking about the one that I aim to finish soon.
Sure, let's go with that one.
It's a game. It's an adventure for a game. So
okay.
More than that, oh no, I can't say more than that because I've actually run it at shows. So I don't. Most of my material that I'm writing, I don't like to tell.
This is a Dungeons and Dragons game.
It's a role-playing system, yeah.
All
so
right.
it can be D&D, it can be any fantasy level thing. Doesn't really matter. It's all Thieves.
Okay.
I've run this for 4 different scenarios at different conventions, mostly at GaryCon every year. And I use the same characters and I advance them a little bit each year so people can play them continuously every year if they want to. But it's the one that I'm finishing up is the very first one, and it's a tournament style adventure with the ability to run it as a regular campaign for anybody that's willing to do so.
All right.
And it's, yes, again, all Thieves.
All Thieves.
Yeah, all Thieves.
So how much time do you spend like writing this campaign?
Uh,
Like, what does it entail in your life?
Right now, not much. It's all kind of framed out already, so it's just me needing to finish it.
Okay.
And right now, I need a working computer.
That should be your
Yeah,
slogan.
I know, right?
I need a computer.
I need a working computer. I gotta put mine back together.
I'm gonna get you a Texas Instruments from circa
I,
1983.
you know what? I don't.
Yeah, Tandy.
Give me a typewriter. I can finish the fucking thing.
And you probably prefer it too.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yep.
John's
Old
old school.
school.
Old school.
But yeah, I do aim to have it finished up and ready for actual sale before next GaryCon, which is in March of next year.
I actually.
So is this going to be like a Kickstarter type thing, or?
I'm probably aiming that way,
Okay.
but we'll see.
All right.
I actually own.
See, I did not know this.
I actually own, and I came
I haven't
across
told a lot
it.
of people,
Yeah.
so there you go.
I came across it not too long ago when I was going through my comic book room. I own a comic book featuring one of John's prose stories in it.
Really?
Oh,
Sleight
God.
of hand.
The Ego Comics.
Ego
thing.
Comics.
Oh my God, I forgot
Yep,
about
back when
those.
me and John first met at the old comic book store, a couple years in,
Yeah.
the proprietor had gotten some of them in,
Yep.
and John was like, "Yeah, my story's in there," so I bought it.
So
And
it's like a prose story?
it's a prose story. It's
Okay.
kind of if I remember, I read it a long time ago. It's kind of what do you want to call it? Like a swashbuckly sword and sorcery kind of character. If I remember correctly,
I don't even remember.
yeah, and it's I'll get it out and show it to you next time. The cover has got it's a hand.
It's
on
it's a nice cover. It really is. Here's a little piece of information just to jump ahead of any kind of questions, but that was a group of people that met off of the Comiccon.com website that used to be run by Rick Veitch and a couple of other people.
Oh wow!
It was a place where publishers and individuals could go and set up a table, a virtual table, at the con, and then there were message boards, and people would go into the message boards and do their usual, shit on a comic kind of thing. And there was a group of us that met there and liked each other, and because of the way the message boards there were turning into just vitriol and people shitting on each other and viciousness, we got out and built ourselves our own page and used that as a launching pad to create this series of comics that we published, I think, through Cafe Press.
Yeah, I'll have to bust it out and show it to you.
Yeah.
We did
Yeah.
4 of them. I
Yeah,
wasn't-
'cause
seen letters from
if
John.
I remember correctly, was it not like this? I could be totally wrong about this. Was it like one issue was sci-fi, one issue was
maybe?
maybe? Yeah.
I think, yeah, we had themes to each one. I forget. There were anything really. It was like there was pro stuff like that I would do. There were comics. There was just pieces of artwork. It was kind of fun. I mean, it was a nice exercise, at least for me.
All right.
And
It was very cool.
yeah,
Yeah,
I had fun with that.
Sleight of hand.
Sleight of hand.
Sleight of hand. I think was the title of the book.
The book, yeah.
Yeah, and it's got kind of like it's got a hand on it, and then it had like
Seems
maybe
like you
tarot
remember
symbols.
more than John does.
Trust me, it was a long time ago. It was
No.
called Ego Comics Presents.
And I came across my copy like very recently, so it was just kind of like a refresher.
I forget if I was in all of them or not, but I do have at least one of each one of those.
Very cool.
Very cool. All right.
Yeah.
So all right, I got a question.
All right.
Lloyd.
Yeah.
Since you okay, so this is a quick 3-part question. The first 2 parts are very simple. Do you know the number of the first Pint episode that you were on?
The number of the episode.
And I don't expect you to know it, but I'm just curious if you know the first time you guessed
Hell,
it on
do
the
you remember
show.
the title?
I'm going to say somewhere around 15,
12.
12. That was close.
You were at the dozen mark. You were.
It was the one at OBB.
It was at OBB.
Yeah.
Correct.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, no
which
shit.
which was Drink Good Beer People.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I
Old
talked
Burnside
about
Brewery.
my trip to North Carolina.
You did?
Yep.
Hey, Bob McClellan, I hope you're doing good after
Yeah.
surgery.
Yeah, he had surgery. So, all right, Lloyd. Do you know what episode number was your first episode as an official co-host?
Oh,
You can swear. It's
As
fine.
an official co-host?
Yeah. Which one were you actually knighted into the to the Pint of Comics Roundtable?
Let's say 72.
76.
Okay, close.
76. So we're 176. Okay. So that leads up to my final like actual question for you. So we talked about this on the episode with Chad Davis where we talked about podcasts. You were out of all of us the biggest podcast listener.
Okay.
John and I kind of got into it later on. You said you've been listening for a long time.
Yeah.
So before you ever guested on the show, and while you were listening to our show early days, did you actually like our show?
Did I like it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely liked it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see if you were like, yeah, it's a little rough. Or...
No, I liked it a lot.
Were you listening from the beginning?
From the very first episode, yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I think what really pulled me in was the Chester A. Arthur episode.
The all Chester A. Arthur episode.
Yeah, all Chester A. Arthur.
I think that was episode 3 or 4.
I think at that point I had just barely, maybe I just got your number, or we were on Messenger, Facebook.
Yeah, we had become friendly.
I had messaged you some funny Chester A. Arthur facts that were not facts.
Yeah.
But
The banging pots and pans in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so do you
Early
know,
days.
here's a quiz for you. There have been 2 places, other than, let's say, remotes, which we won't get into. The 215 here in Wallingford, Connecticut is where most of the Pine of Comics episodes were recorded.
Right.
Do you know where, like, 3 or 4 of them, including the first 2, what town in Connecticut they were recorded in?
One in Newington, at CT Fig.
No, not including any of those.
Oh, not
One that we were
including
actually in a home base. You'll never guess this, so I'm gonna skip it over.
Can you tell me the episode title?
Well, the first one and the second one.
No, I don't. Oh, no, it wasn't Portland, but it was at John's, right?
Cobalt,
Cobalt.
right? Cobalt. Was that where you were staying?
No, it was Portland.
Was it Portland?
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Well, I get it.
Cobalt is part of East Hampton, which is
Okay,
like
so
a stone's throw from where
so
it was.
technically Portland.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it's not technically. It is Portland.
Oh, I thought it was Cobalt. Okay, well, okay. So Portland, Connecticut. The first 2 episodes, and I think the 6th episode was also recorded there, and that was the first episode to feature anybody else in the 6-pack. Do you know who the first member of the 6-pack to be on one of our shows was?
G.I. Gary.
G.I. Gary, on an episode entitled "Baked Potato Salesman Batman."
Because he was upset because we had said some incorrect things about G.I. Joe.
Yeah, he said he wanted to come on and straighten us out. We did a whole episode about 80s toys.
Yeah,
and,
it was good.
we did the Malort challenge with him.
Frank
Did we?
Zappa came
Oh,
after
I
that.
forgot about that.
He talked about Frank Zappa quite a bit.
Oh yeah, right. That was great.
We talked about how at that point Dweezil Zappa was having all those legal issues with the family not wanting him to play Zappa's music. Yeah, it's
Boy,
interesting.
that was a heady topic.
Yeah.
But think about it too. It's like I at some point we need to go back and strip mine the old episodes for things that we said that we never actually completed.
That we never got back to. That might take a couple of fucking years.
Yeah, tell me about it. I haven't listened to our episode.
All right, John, do you have any questions for either of us?
If you wish,
Sure.
I can ask a single question for both of you to answer. It's going to take you a second to answer it.
Okay.
All right. Given any way your life has gone, even the way it is now, regardless of where you sit in employment at the present time, where would you prefer to be as an employee? What would you rather be doing? What's your dream job?
Oh. Making money? Well, I'm just saying, an actual job, like where I'm making money and I
What's
can
your
live off
dream
of it.
job?
I would do this. If I could do this or DJ on the radio or
Why don't you do that?
let's not get into the dream. There's a possibility of that always, but we can't get into the whole. I'm too old, or I don't want to.
I hear there's a broadcast school up there.
Yeah, I hear that too. I heard you have a little plaque on your table. No, I really love doing this. If someone said to me tomorrow, like like you see it on YouTube and stuff, people that are monetized on YouTube and can quit their jobs and stuff, and
you can't even believe it.
It's hard to believe. It's hard to believe, but I honestly think that, and I wouldn't have said this 5 years ago because before I ever did this, I would never have thought I'd even be decent at it or comfortable doing it. But yeah, I would want to do this.
Yeah. Well, you're Mr. Personality. You're Mr. Host. You got it.
You got the touch.
You got the touch.
You got the power.
Lloyd.
Let's see. I would not be doing what I'm doing now, but I would be doing something that involves creativity. I do create and design things that where I work now, but I think I wanted to always be an architect. And I was
Like
told,
in Indiana Jones. Oh no, he's an archaeologist. Forget it. That joke's right out the wall. Like a Mike Brady architect.
I would like to be an architect, designing just fantastic, super things.
It just suddenly I'm like thinking like Costanza when he wants to be the architect.
Yeah. Well, Costanza wants to be a fake architect.
True.
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or a marine biologist, but.
And if not architect, something to do with art, but I'm no artist, so I just.
Okay.
Oh, you're an artist,
See,
dude.
when it comes to architect though, is it designing buildings or is it designing other stuff?
I like building. I did a lot of like residential. I used to design homes just on my own. I used to just sit there and design.
That's a
homes.
cool / weird hobby.
Yeah,
but
right?
it's cool.
Yeah.
No, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. I don't see how it entertains you, but that's just me.
Yeah.
You know.
I get it.
Spatial relationships is kind of a thing for me.
Ah, that's cool. That's
Yeah.
fine.
You just named this episode. All right. So Lloyd, give us one.
All right, let's see.
Give us one, Lloyd.
Let's go through my list here. All right, this is related to comics, since we're a comic book podcast.
Oh.
John, what is your biggest disappointment in all of comics? Like, what are you just so disappointed that you almost despise the industry?
Okay, you want to know the honest truth?
Yeah.
I've gotten to the point. Excuse me. I've gotten to the point in the last year or so where I'm seriously trying to figure out what I want to do in turn. I've gotten to the point where I don't think I want to collect new comics anymore, or as many. I've gotten to the point where I realize that look over there, the piles.
I see it.
I don't have the time, but it's not even the time anymore. I don't have the drive to read all the new stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Stop reading them.
And that's that. And I've
You're not doing it.
Just
Stop.
this week, I cut eight titles. I want to still go into BoomTube and buy my books from Dan.
Right.
The books I really want, but I'm realizing right now that there's so many old things that I want to read. And again, not to sound like like a doomsayer, but there's less time than there. You know what I mean? Like time is not slowing down. So
I struggle through the same thing every day.
My disappointment is half in myself and half in the industry, in the fact that it's not the same as it was, but more in myself, where it's like my collector's mentality has overtaken my that part of my brain, and I've gotten to the point where I've been able to say, okay, I'm not doing this. In the last 6 months, there have been so many books that in the past I would have gone, throw that on my list. And I don't do it. I just go, fuck it, and then you know what? Maybe if the trade comes out and it interests me, I'll either read it on Comixology. I'm also getting to the point where the idea of digital comics is not as offensive to me as it used to be, because I don't know. I feel like.
So what's the disappointment, that you're not into it as much?
I'm still into it. It's more of a disappointment in myself in the past.
Okay.
Dude, what were you doing? But I think we were all there at some point or another. It's just, it's just like the point where I'm getting. I guess the disappointment is kind of in me, where it's like, how did I let it get to this point? Over the course of the last 2 or 3 years, I have been going through. At least it wasn't a chandelier.
Yeah, right.
I have been going through. I've been going through my books and just culling shit and giving it to. I know a guy that I give it to who works at a hospital.
Yeah, for children.
Yeah, children and stuff like that. And then the ones that aren't child worthy, he gets them out to adults and stuff. And I don't even feel bad about it. But then when you're not thinking about it, that right there, that bag right there on the chair is full of comics, and that's going to be donated. And when you look at that, you go, not too bad. But then when you look at the books and you go $3.99, $4.99,
Yeah.
blah blah blah.
You see all the dollars coming out of your wallet.
Disappointed in myself, but I don't want to get too far into that because my wife listens to this shit. I don't, not that I hide anything from her, but I don't need her to go, I've been telling you this, although she never has given me shit about that. I don't need to give her a little more ammo. So yeah, that's my thing.
All right, so I actually want to follow up to that, and I'd like to hear the same thing from John. Sir John.
Which part?
What's your greatest disappointment?
In comics?
Yeah.
That I never actually had anything published in it. I mean,
your own comic book?
Anything, or I've never gone far enough in the industry to have something published.
So the story that we talked about before isn't.
I didn't get paid for it, and that is a prose story. That's not a comic book story.
Okay.
So I mean, I've had plenty of prose stories published, but
do you have comic ideas?
Oh yeah,
things
shit
laid
tons of
out,
them. Oh, yeah.
actually drawn and stuff
No,
like that?
no, I'm not an artist.
Just in your head?
No, I have notes written of all kinds of things, pitches, I've actually pitched stories to people before.
Okay.
Well,
I've got rejection letters.
let's make it clear, just so there's credit due where credit is due, is that the name Pint of Comics was not was not this was not a name that
Right.
like me and John came up with.
The true origin
The
of
true
the
origin.
name Pint of
There we go.
Comics.
Let's go there.
Okay, so John can tell you more about this, but back in the day at the comic store,
I honestly, when I wrote that down on Facebook and people were asking, because I gave it a breadth of like 2 years, because I couldn't remember exactly what the date was. I got to dig out the material to remember what year it was.
right.
But I was working on an actual story, a comic book story with another reader. Should we say his name?
Yeah, Clint.
Clint
Another Johnson. Clint Johnson.
Another non-related Johnson. Because there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
But he and I were working on a story. We called it Canon. That's a 1 N.
Okay.
As in if it was canon.
As in canon, yep.
And came up with a promotion of it. He did 5-6 pages. Of
I saw the
artwork.
pages.
Yeah, I still have a copy. I found a copy of the promo I was handing out. I went to New York Comic Con, was giving it out to people. I gave one to Eric Larson, that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
I heard back from people. They liked the art. They weren't sure what to make of it, and it was probably at a point where that type of story wasn't really something that they were interested in. It's definitely a story that would be published at Image right now, or even within the last 5 years. It's not a superhero story. It's more of a conspiracy set.
Oh yeah, you could get that now.
Yeah, and boy, do I have all kinds of shit written out for that. But
Do you think it's gonna happen?
no, I've given up on it at this point.
Why?
At least as far as a comic book story, maybe as something written, prose, but.
And Pint of
I
Comics
don't
was the
know.
name of the
Pint-
of the imprint that you were going to put it under, right?
Yeah, the original logo and everything else I had created, and
I still have the original Pint of Comics
Really?
business card.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
that's
I've got a
cool.
handful of them
Yeah.
left. Yeah,
And that was where when me and John decided to do this after From the Hip, we were taking forever to come up with a name, and it was hard. Coming up with names not easy. And I just kept coming back to the Pint of Comics. And
which I wasn't.
he didn't want to do it.
I
You
didn't
didn't
want to do
wanna
it.
go there.
I didn't like using.
You didn't want to
it.
give it up?
Well, it's not that it was giving it up. It was more of it. It just didn't seem like what we were trying to do.
Right.
It's a limiting title, and,
Yeah.
and I just didn't think it was going to work. But I gave up on fighting it because we just couldn't come up with anything
We
better.
just couldn't. We couldn't. The one thing that I kept coming up with, and this is going to sound kind of silly, but the one thing that I kept coming up with in my head for a title, and I couldn't figure out a way to make it work, was that for the beginning, especially in the From the Hip days, and John was having some car issues, I'd always pick John up and bring him out to record From the Hip, and
Oh, yeah, right.
I'd go over and see John record, or I'd get John and bring him back here, and he lives in Portland, which is across the Portland Bridge. So I was always thinking of like something with the bridge, like I was thinking like the pop bridge or
Oh,
the
yeah.
pop culture bridge, and
Right.
at one
Bridge,
point,
Remember some of those
yeah,
words.
I was trying to come up with like I thought bridge would be cool,
I think you can do it with bridge.
and I think I got to the nadir of my ideas when I thought like, well, it does fit with comics, but then I realized that it would put us
Bridge of comics that don't.
well, no. The name that I thought of works with comics, but it also would make us a totally people would think we're something else. I was thinking like maybe Over the Rainbow Bridge,
Oh,
and then I
yeah.
thought that's
Oh,
never
okay,
gonna
yeah.
that's gonna people are gonna think we're like an LGBTQ
Yeah.
podcast, and so it was just like
Well,
it
we're
was-
not against that.
we're not against it. I just
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
nothing wrong with it. But I just kept bothering her. I'm like, dude, Pint of Comics, just Pint of Comics, and
Let's just do it.
let's just do
I
it.
just
So
finally gave up.
he gave
Yeah,
up.
it grabbed me.
So
That was
we give Clint credit as well. Clint was like a mainstay at the comic book store for years, and yeah, and he was the artist on John's thing. And I
Okay.
remember he brought the pages in and everything, so it was all very cool.
I have the
All right.
pages.
Another follow-up
That's
question.
awesome. All right,
What do you really love about comics?
what do I love about
Yeah,
comics?
If you could just say one thing, I really love.
Uh,
something.
I love stories. I love the escapism.
Yeah.
You know, I love to read.
You like-
Read like
I
super.
like the bite-sized size of it.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, the cliffhanger idea.
Yeah.
You know, the month to month, the serial aspect of it. I
Yeah.
mean, you know, and in the end, as dumb as a message as it sounds, it's like reading is great. You know, reading is so fucking important. And in my life, I can't read novels anymore. I haven't been able to for years.
I still do.
I just
I
don't.
try.
I would love to try. I know. I've half read more novels in my life than I've read, and I've read a lot of novels, but I've half read more. You know, I fall out of it or whatever. So for me, comics are much easier. just little bite-sized chunks.
Yeah.
And then if I read 3 issues of Justice League or Avengers, I'm just using fake titles, and I'm bored, I can go jump over to fucking Walking Dead, or I can jump what comics entail nowadays. It's not just all superhero stuff. I could read something from this end of the spectrum, and
That's
then
what
go to
brought
this end.
me in because
I wanna see
I
you
finally
reading
realized
romance
it's not
comics.
just superheroes.
A what?
I want to see you reading a romance comic.
You get next time we go to a comic book store, you buy or you find a romance comic, I will read it.
A brand new one?
A brand new one.
Oh well, that's not gonna happen.
Or you find me a Charlton one.
Faithless.
I'll find you a
You can
Charlton.
read Faithless.
Get me
I
a
got 3
Charlton.
issues of that.
Get me. Is that the one with the porno covers? That
I don't have porno covers.
did you see the? Is that the one with
I
the?
saw the porno covers and they're fantastic.
Oh my God, Matt Wilson, our good
If you're
friend
gonna read
from.
porn, you might as well read porn. I mean,
Yeah, Matt Wilson, our good friend from the Connecticut Cult Classics.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
saw him at Terrificon.
Oh yeah.
He had that one cover with there was
Oh, right.
there was
Yeah, I had like 3 or 4 of them.
there was
Yeah.
clit on that cover.
Yeah.
Like that's hardcore. That's
No,
hardcore.
The book itself is not like that.
All right. I got a question. All right, so John, here's a little quiz. They're worth 5 points each. Even though there's no points, no one wins. Name 5 episode titles. Any 5 episode titles of the show. Yeah.
Oh God. Well, there's the old Chester A. Arthur episode.
That's right.
There's Baked Potato Sales Batman.
Yep, Big Potato Salesman Batman.
Let's see here. There were some good ones too. Fuck. There were so many long fucking titles, you asshole.
Hey, we title every episode
I
after something
know.
someone says. And
Honestly, I'm really bad at remembering the title names.
Lloyd, can you jump in and give us 3 more?
Frankenstein's Crunchy Sock.
Yes.
Oh, I was like, yes.
Crunchy Frankenstein sock.
Crunchy Frankenstein Sock?
Yeah.
Okay. Jeez. We're gonna brew some apples?
Drink good beer, people.
Drink good beer, people.
That's
Yeah.
one of my favorites. So that's
That was Bob. Bob said that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna brew some apples?
We're gonna brew some apples. Yeah. That was
What
the.
was that?
That was one me and
That
Lloyd
was a
did.
music
I
one.
think when you were in GaryCon a couple
Okay.
years ago.
Is that 5 yet?
No, that's only 4.
There's only 4.
We've got like 95 out at this point.
I know,
You
right?
know me in memory.
Shit.
All right, I'll
Mr. Dwyer, you are disrespectful and evil.
Yes, you were evil and
Oh, that's
disrespectful.
right.
Evil and
Yeah.
disrespectful.
Okay. All right. Good. One of my favorites is a recent one John came up with. It was something John said, but I just love "fuck 'em dead."
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
I love "fuck 'em dead."
Yeah.
All right. Lloyd, any or John?
I listened to that one.
Yeah, I think John.
Who's that? John, give us a
What?
question. You got a question?
I don't know. Why do I have to ask you? Find one on the people.
Hey, you want to do some Twitter
Yeah.
ones?
All right, let's do some Twitter ones.
people.
Although I have a really, before we do the
We
Twitter
did
ones,
this for them, not for us.
before I do the Twitter ones, I have maybe the single most important question, and it is for John.
Alright.
And I want to fucking answer.
Uh-huh.
All right, because this is like the Kramer thing. Remember Kramer? Nobody knew and that he was Cosmo for years.
Well, that's because no one paid attention to the early seasons when he says it.
Right. So, where the fuck did Sir come from? I've known you for a long time, and I have never once heard the definitive answer as to where the fuck Sir.
Well, which story have you heard?
There's more than
Exactly. What's the actual story?
Well, which story have you heard?
I heard one. Okay, this is the one I heard
Uh-huh.
years ago.
Yep.
And it sounds fake.
Okay.
Maybe it's real, and I have a feeling you're not going to tell the truth no matter what. But I heard that you were in Sweden one time,
Yep.
and there was a little girl, and I think she was drowning, and that you pulled her out of the water. And it turned out that she was like Swedish royalty.
Yeah.
And you were like honorarily knighted.
You're fucking kidding me.
This is the story I heard.
Well, you're kind of overstating the drowning situation because it was just a water fountain, and she fell into the water fountain when I was there with the family, and I just picked her up out of the water fountain.
And for that, you were actually like, what happened? Is this a real? I don't know if this is a real story.
Yeah, it ignited me.
So like who was she?
Princess Caroline.
Princess Caroline.
Yeah.
Really?
God damn it! I want to believe him, but I don't at the same time.
Yeah, I know. It sounds so contrived.
Right, Caroline? Is that the right one? I forget. It was the baby. There's 2 girls. One just got married. Too.
What's another story? Like what's?
Oh, the other story is when I was letter writing to DC and most of the other companies at the time. A friend of mine said you have to give yourself a nickname so people know who you are, and gave me the name Sir John.
That sounds good.
Which one do you lean into?
Well, the Swedish knighthood is because it's real.
God damn it! Like, isn't it frustrating that you don't know if you can believe him or not?
Yeah, it is.
I want to believe him.
What do you think, audience?
Yeah, really.
Up to them.
Up to them. All right. Fuck. You can't break the fourth wall.
Fuck him.
Yeah. All right. All right. Go to Twitter, Gary.
All right,
Or,
do some.
I'm sorry.
Gary, you want to read it?
Twiddler.
Uh,
Lloyd.
You never heard the other one?
all right, this.
I'd
one-
only heard the Swedish one.
Oh,
I'd only heard the Swedish one.
I stopped telling that.
I'm gonna say this one first because the people who wrote this thought it was the lamest question, so I'll just say it.
Okay.
What are your top 5 movies? This is from Ghosts of the Stratosphere. I don't know if it was from anyone in particular, but
I don't really have top 5, but I mean, if I had to rattle off 5
yeah,
that I would put in my upper 5 echelon, Jaws number 1,
yeah.
Alien number 2,
Oh,
Jaws.
Aliens is probably 3, Blade Runner's probably 4,
Mm.
and 5. Man, there's so many other ones. Yeah, I can't even say Clockwork Orange anymore.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to think about that. But those 4 is good
All right,
enough.
4
for
is
now.
good. John, Sir John.
I used to have a list of the top 9 favorite movies of all time for me.
Wow.
Yeah, I could never get 10, but I could do 9.
Empire Strikes Back 5.
And
Empire Strikes Back.
but from that list, I can at least tell you this: The Maltese Falcon, The Great Escape, The Wild Bunch, The Shootist, and where am I going here? Cripes.
Anything made in the non-black
Yeah.
and white in the talkie era?
What? 3 of those are colored.
I know. I'm kidding.
What are you talking about? Jesus Christ.
Anything later than 1960?
Yeah, Wild Bunch is 68.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great Escape is 63.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was wrong?
All right, so that's good.
And maybe the Blues Brothers, but
Blues
Yeah.
Brothers.
We jump right into 1980.
the Blues Brothers does hit the top 9. I know that much, but I just can't remember. It's not that far up, but it's an easy one to throw out there. There's probably another one. Oh, The Quiet Man. Shit, of course.
There you go. Not
Sorry.
the Wicker Man.
No, The Wicker Man. I love that movie, but it's nowhere near the top 10.
Okay.
That's in his top 10 Nicolas Cage movies.
No.
Lloyd, 5.
I'll do Alien, Jaws, Stand By Me, Shawshank Redemption, and Star Wars.
I
Star
guess
Wars.
Star
Yeah,
Wars.
just throwing it in there.
Yeah.
Just because.
Empire's better than Star Wars.
Yeah, I'll go with
That's
Empire.
okay.
That's fine.
All right, what's the next question from our friends out there?
I don't really. Well, I guess I do. The podcast.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
Dino.
What was your first geeky? I think you said childhood collection.
Oh, me? That's easy for me. Star Wars figures.
The same answer for me.
Star Wars figures, totally.
Matchbox cars,
Oh, good
Yeah.
answer.
and I still have them.
Nice. You might have some that are worth some money too.
No, they're
No?
not in good shape.
Yeah, Star Wars figures for me, man. I was right in that era, and
Yeah.
I had them all, and I don't have any of them anymore.
All right, I'm gonna do 2 from the same guy. This is Jim Hurst at Couch Comics.
Ah, Jim.
Jimmy the Joint.
Right?
Check his comic book out.
Yeah.
John loved it.
Oh, I did.
His
Still
tweets
love it.
were a little bit leading, so I will just give you the first part.
Okay.
What was your least favorite X-Man?
Who's my least favorite X-Man?
Oh, that's so easy.
Cyclops.
Yeah.
And his second part was, and why is it Cyclops?
He's just a douchebag.
Yeah.
He's a douchebag
I
character.
love you, Jim. That's great.
Yeah, that is a good one.
Yeah, because he is. He's always been written as this shitbag. I mean,
Yeah.
even pre Claremont, he was a shitbag.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
and
just-
I'll go with the same thing.
Yeah.
When you actively want to see Wolverine fuck the guy's girlfriend, and Wolverine's not even like he's not I love Wolverine as a character, but he's kind of a scuzzbag too.
Yeah, right.
One of my favorite things of The Punisher Kills the Marvel Universe is he takes out Cyclops so quickly.
Yeah, he's the first one, I think, right?
He's not even the Punisher at that point. He's just going nuts and firing into a crowd. He puts one right between Cyclops' eyes.
Yeah, Cyclops sucks. All right, Lloyd, what do we got next?
Thanks,
so
Jim.
another one from Jim Hurst was, what is your favorite sequel movie?
Ooh.
Well, I mean, you know, I know we can get into the definition of sequel.
I suppose you could count Empire Strikes Back if you wanted, but I wouldn't.
I know it's a trilogy, and I know it's part, but I'm not going to get that. I would say Empire. Empire is probably the first case for me of a movie that I enjoyed more than the first.
Mm-hmm.
That I still love the first. Just Empire it was just bigger. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It took Star Wars, and it brought the characters to the next level, and it was a bigger thing. And it also is one of the first examples for me of a movie I could think of where the ending was so fucking rough. It was like nothing, you know. It truly they spoil it in the title. Like, do you think this is gonna end well? No, we told you in the title, you douchebags.
When you think about Empire, was probably one of the strongest sequels of any movie that came out and just blew apart what the audience was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's a great way to look at it. I don't know. Oh, excuse me. Thank you, Narragansett.
Yours, John?
I don't know. That's a tough one. I'd almost go with any James Bond film, but I'm not that big of a Bond nut.
Okay.
I kind of want to go with Thin Man again. The second Thin Man movie, which was, I forget the title of it.
The Thin Man 2, even thinner.
No, they weren't thinking like that back in 1932. So
Yeah, you know the actual. I think I.
The Slender Man.
no.
You know what the first sequel.
It's a terrible movie.
The first sequel that uses the number 2 instead of a Roman numeral 2 in sequel is
No, what's that?
Jaws 2.
Really?
Jaws 2 is the first sequel to not use a Roman numeral for a sequel.
Superman 2.
Superman 2 was a Roman numeral. Well, that was after anyway, but yeah.
That was
All right. Me, I'm gonna say Aliens.
Yeah, Aliens
Yeah.
rocks.
There's a couple other good ones.
There's the problem was it.
Star Trek 2. Wrath of Khan.
Star Trek
Oh,
2.
that's an
That was
excellent
a
one.
great one.
Yeah.
Considering that it's so much superior to the first movie. I mean,
Yeah,
I love the
exactly.
first movie, but it is a superior movie.
Yep.
'Cause
For-
it's like a direct sequel to the TV show,
Right.
Which makes it even better.
And it basically takes all the stuff that people didn't like about the first movie and course corrects. You know what I mean?
Like the costumes.
Like we got better costumes.
And
We
you get to see
cut.
Captain Kirk's moose knuckle.
Yeah. You don't have to look at fucking Shatner's cock cluster for fucking 2 hours, 2+ hours. Yeah.
Nice. All right, I got one more.
Matter of fact, just to throw that out there real quick, I don't know if you know this or not, but we talked a few 10 episodes ago about Fathom Events. They were doing a bunch of stuff like Shawshank.
Oh yeah, it's coming back out.
Star Trek: The Motion Picture, and I'm tempted.
I've never seen it in the big.
I have
screen,
never
so-
either, and it is one of those big spectacle movies. I just don't know how many times I'm gonna
I
fall
liked
asleep.
it much better. I rewatched all the
It's
Star
a good
Trek
movie.
movies like a year, maybe a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
I liked it much better than I remember liking it.
Yeah,
It's a good science fiction.
It's a
movie.
good science fiction movie. I think
Yeah.
John and I actually, in the first 10 episodes of the show, or first 15 episodes, we recorded one day, and it was a Saturday afternoon I had off, and we watched it before we recorded.
We watched the whole thing.
We watched like 90% of it.
Yeah.
And as we kind of did
It's a pretty long movie.
We did like an impromptu review, and you had said something that like I had never, because I've only seen probably 4 times in my life, but you had made a point of it, like it's just chock full of Enterprise porn.
Oh no, it is.
That
I
whole
mean,
scene where they're in the
I
shuttle.
love it. I love it.
It is. If you're a fan of the Enterprise
Yeah,
and,
it's just-
the look of the Constellation class ship,
The redesign of it.
the
was
redesign,
fantastic.
that scene where Scotty and Kirk are flying from the station to the Enterprise is like 86 minutes long.
It's got this smile on his face, and it looks like he's stroking like, the joystick
Robotic,
as he's
yeah.
driving it. And it's like, here you go, Captain Kirk. Look at this thing.
All right, how about one from So Wizard?
So Wizard,
This
sure.
is a good one. I like this one.
All right.
So I guess you'll see. If there was a Pint of Comics movie,
Yeah.
who would play you guys? So I'm gonna say who would play you two, and you
Ed
each say who
Norton.
would play
Okay.
us two.
All right.
I would be Ed Norton.
No, you can't say yourself.
All right, go ahead. You
All
go
right,
first. Lloyd.
So I'll go first.
I can't be me.
Nope. Johnny Ganache. I'm gonna go with John Candy.
Okay, I knew it was gonna be a fat. I knew it was gonna be a fat
Ah,
guy.
come on.
No, it's not because of that.
Keep him alive at least.
Yeah, really.
And for
Living
John, I'm
living
going.
actors.
For Sir John, I'm going with Simon Pegg.
Okay.
Okay, all right. For you two, for me, Lloyd, you are man. I'm gonna get back to you.
All right.
John, I'm gonna go with.
I don't know his name, but I'll come up with it.
All right. Boy, this is a good question. This is tough. You know, in all honesty, the kind of like the sardonic wit and the attitude of John, and just kind of like the not so much.
The guy from Almost Famous.
No.
Or
Almost.
There is
Everybody Wants Some.
John has a no. John to me has a Bill Murray quality. So
Ah.
I'm gonna put Bill Murray in the Sir John
All right.
role.
Wow.
Sad
you know?
that he's so old.
Yeah, well, you
Oh,
know,
thanks.
Scrooge era Bill Murray.
Scrooge Darrow.
And Lloyd, I think for you, I'm gonna pick. I'm trying to think of. Let's see. You know, I don't know. I'm looking at
hard.
you. No, well,
I take the glasses.
take the
off.
glasses
Sorry.
off. All right. Maybe a slightly older Brandon Routh. Maybe a slightly
Wow,
older Brandon
okay.
Routh. All right.
All right.
All right. I'll give you that. All right, John. What fat guy do you pick for me?
You're gonna have to help me here, but
Sure.
Dan,
Fatty Arbuckle.
No, Dan from fuck the freaking ping pong movie.
Dan Fogler.
Dan Fogler.
Yeah.
thank
Okay.
you.
I'll take that. I'll
Who's
take that.
I don't know that.
We stood 5 feet away from him at New York Comic Con last year. He is in. You would know him if you saw him.
All right.
He was in Balls of Fury.
Yeah, he's been
I
doing
saw-
other things
Yeah,
lately.
he's
so-
on the Goldbergs television show. Have you ever watched that?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he plays
I
the
know.
uncle every
Yeah,
once in a while.
I
Yeah,
got it.
yeah,
And-
yeah. Dan Fogler.
Oh yeah.
I kind of think you know who he looks like to me?
Well, he looks like Brian.
Brian Scavera. Yeah. Brian looks like if Meatloaf
Yeah.
and Dan Fogler had a baby.
Oh well, there was a point there where Brian was looking so much like Penn Jillette, it was ridiculous.
Jesus, you're right. Yeah, okay, all right.
And for Lloyd, it would be Bill Hader,
Ah.
I see that.
I got that.
Yeah.
especially now with his new show.
Barry. Yeah, I
And-
still haven't seen that yet.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I gotta
Yeah,
check
all
that
right.
out.
He's got a weird voice, but he could end up pulling
I
it
have
off. So.
I have a weird.
Not you.
You know, weird voice.
No, he does. Hader's got a real high.
He does.
nasally
Yeah,
voice.
yeah. He's got a nasally voice for
It's
sure.
a little weird, but
All right.
He
Well,
does a great Al Pacino.
does he?
Yeah.
he does. Yeah.
Oh,
You
I've
know,
never seen
I
it.
saw I saw a thing about him, an interview with him, where I think it was Conan O'Brien, where he asked him like, "How long have you been doing impersonations?" And he's like, "You know, until I got on SNL, I never did impersonations." But he is like, his Alan Alda. Have you ever seen him do Alan Alda?
well, yeah,
Is
that I've seen.
fucking spotless. Like he
Uh-huh.
sounds just like
Wow.
him. Yeah. He's like, until I got on Saturday Night Live, it was never something I did. He goes, and then I suddenly learned that I had the penchant for it or whatever.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, there.
All right, what do we got next?
Oh, you want another one from here?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not shitting questions out.
I still have a couple left that I'm going to go through.
All right. What? This is from Isaac Thorne,
Oh, Isaac, our buddy, you know,
our buddy, author of
the Gordon Place.
the Gordon Place.
Yeah, the Gordon Place, which I am still reading, and I told him that I'm going to have a review for him soon.
That's a novel you're gonna finish.
I am going to finish
See,
that one.
there
Yep,
you
you're
go.
right. You're absolutely right.
What was the comic book that lured you in?
Well, okay, so for me,
Anything from DC.
yeah, for me, I guess for me the simple answer would be, I read comics when I was younger, and it was a bunch of different ones. You know, like I'd go to Printer's Devil bookshop in Middletown with my parents, and Shogun Warriors and stuff like that. The book that got me into sequential comic book reading, I've said this before, so I don't want to bore everybody, and it was also the only book I've ever gotten from the Marvel subscription service, G.I. Joe. Larry Hamill's G.I. Joe.
All right.
Yeah, that was by far my favorite as a kid, and I was we talked about collections at first. Star Wars was my first like real collection. G.I. Joe was the one where it was about 7 or 8 that I was actually like kind of old enough to like go to the store, and my mom would say, Dad,
Right.
pick 2 out, and I would go, okay, I want Stalker and I want fucking Snake Eyes. You know what I mean? I was old enough at that point where I was picking
You
my
said
own shit
fuck
up.
it.
Fuck yeah.
At 8 years old.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking Stalker.
So that's my answer.
John, is there one or is it just the DC?
No, I mean, luring me in, it's hard to say.
It sounds filthy too.
Well, hey,
Come
yeah.
in here, little boy.
There's a lot of things that lured me to a title. If it wasn't the way they marketed it, or there was a lot of talk. I mean, back before the internet, the only way you got to hear about a comic if you didn't have the Comics Buyer's Guide newspaper, which I didn't as a kid because it was like $2, so it was expensive. You heard it through word of mouth or through the letters columns, and there was talk about how great this series was. Saga of the Swamp Thing was being talked up like crazy for the Alan Moore stuff, and I got turned on to that during the American Gothic storyline, so it was long after he had taken over the title.
That was the stuff with Chester, right? With
it was around that time, but Swamp Thing was going through a series of horrific hauntings, and it was this ongoing storyline that kept happening where he would go to a place and weird shit would happen.
Was that the one where it had like the nuclear guy that was?
It was after that.
That was after.
Yeah,
okay,
it was after that, and it was around the time where the underwater vampires happened.
Okay, I've read all this, but it's been a long time.
So it was this ongoing storyline in the
Underwater
series.
vampires.
Oh,
was
it was
crazy
creepy
shit,
as hell. Oh, I'll never forget that.
Underwater welder and vampire.
Sophisticated suspense.
Yeah, and that was the title on the subtitle on the title itself, right in the cover of the book, and yeah, that really dragged me in. And boy, from there goes Hellblazer.
What year was that around?
Oh God, 85, 84.
You know, when he was 29.
Yeah, it was quite a while back there. I was such a young kid, and back then they didn't, there was no mature readers on shit.
No.
No.
All right, Lloyd. What about you?
Well, for me, there's a definitive answer, and you can read about it on the Planet Comics website, and I'll leave it at that.
Huh?
No.
Go search it out.
No.
The Dark Tower.
Yeah, it is Stephen King's The Dark Tower. That's what lured me in, and then I got away, and then what pulled me back actually was Walking Dead.
So you're kind of horror centric, or at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What else we got?
Around your ankle.
All right, what do we got? Well, this I'm not too sure we can answer, but I'll try. This is from Kara. I'm not sure who that is exactly.
I saw that. I'm not sure who it is either. But
what is your weirdest, funniest, whatever gaming experience?
Weirdest, funniest, whatever.
gaming
So
experience.
it's just some memorable gaming experience. This is one that Lou should answer.
Yeah, I think I.
Man, I could pile them up here.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, I mean you've got board games.
Yeah, you
so.
you take this one because I don't think I really have much weird.
Oh, please.
Yeah, I'll tell you my weirdest. Was,
Some game nights have been pretty fucking weird.
Yeah, how about Patch Adams Night?
okay,
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
I don't know if that's
How
weird.
about Pootie?
Pootie, yeah. I still have that card in my comic room.
Oh man.
I think for me, we talked about this before, and this is kind of like the genesis of the Johnny Ganache name. Is me and Lindsay going over our good friends who are another couple house playing Scattergories,
Oh, that's a great
and
game.
them getting into such a fight
Yeah.
that like we actually slunk out of the front door because and they didn't notice like we were just like it wasn't ending.
Really?
It was just like let's just leave. Like, and Lindsay's like, well, should we say goodbye? And I'm like, they don't give a fuck. Like it's like 9:30. Let's just go home. And we waited, and they're like still pissed at each other.
Oh, that's
And we
hilarious.
slunk out the front door.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
And that's why I event because then me and Lindsay it happened one time with us, and then the whole Johnny Ganache name comes from a category argument. So in the end, I actually a couple years ago when the tabletop shop in New Britain was doing their donate a game,
Oh.
I donated my categories because I don't need that evil in my house because that game can only cause fucking problems amongst people. But literally, yeah,
that is funny.
literally, we were having a nice night. We went out to dinner. We come home and play categories. Some semantics happen. They get into an argument, and then they get into more of an argument, and then they go in the kitchen to argue, and we're just out there for like 20 minutes while they're arguing. And I just said to Lindsay, "Let's go. We gotta go."
We had a little categories issue on a cruise that I took for my honeymoon.
Oh Jesus!
Yeah,
Wow.
You're lucky you didn't.
you ever go on a cruise?
Yes, when I was a kid.
We were on a table. You know, you're put with people that you don't know, and so we had a game night, and we were with people, and the letter was G, and I guess one of the things was a food, and one was a
Ganache.
clothing.
Yeah. Oh God.
Yeah, maybe it was Ganache. No, so I said giant Subway for the G, and they accepted it. And then when it came down to clothes, I said giant pants.
Yeah, you're pushing
And
it.
no, that was it. That was pushing it. They took away all my points
They should've.
prior to that, and that was it. We were done.
They should have. All right, John, give us one of your like weirdest or
One? You just roll one.
give us a couple.
All right, so let's. One of the weirdest situations I ever got into was my long-running D&D game that I had been DMing at my house. I got into a situation where I had to role play a character who was female, and was involved with one of the player characters. In particular, this guy named Jason Az, who now lives up in New Hampshire. We called him Spartak, not only because his character's name was Spartak, but it just fit, and there were too many Jasons at the table at the time, so we needed to call him something else. So we called him Spartak. And his character at the time, Spartak, was involved with this woman. And as we were role playing it out,
I'm getting nervous where this is going.
yeah, it got to levels of weirdness where I was like, okay, we need to stop now because this is getting into creepy situations. And he sat right next to me, so we were less than arm's length away from each other as we were going through
Over the
everything.
pants to completion, or
No,
okay, all right.
yeah, Jesus.
All right.
It was just like, all right, like, can we just move on from that role-playing experience? Okay, we good now, John? All right, we'll move on.
All right.
So it was fun, but it was just the strangest situation at the time. Beyond that, I mean, God, I've gotten into near table flipping incidents. I've gotten into angry situations at conventions where.
Well, who was the guy we had on the radio a couple months ago that like made it sound like you and him almost got into it at GaryCon? I can't remember his name. I can't remember.
On the radio?
Yeah, it was on the radio like maybe 2 months ago.
Well, oh, Chad.
Chad.
Oh, Chad. Yeah, Chad. We call him Chud. Chad Parrish and I. Yeah, we really got into an argument this year.
Yeah, which was
Because,
only a couple months after.
Well, I was well into my cups at that point during the day, and his gaming style and mine didn't mesh as far because we were co-GMing an event of Cyberpunk. I think it was 2013, which is essentially the same thing as 2020, but it's just earlier in the decade. But
How cyberpunky is 2013? Shouldn't they like update these years now?
well, they did. That was done in the 80s, and then
No, I'm saying like at this point now they should change the name to like 3013.
well, it's gonna
or
be
something.
2077 when it comes out.
Oh, okay, all right.
Anyway, yeah, we got really into it because the way he wanted to run the game and the way, because he was like, well, we're going to do the combat like this. I'm like, fuck you, we're going to do it like that. We're going to do it my way because I was running the combat. And he's like, whoa, that's not how I do it. Like, well, we should have discussed this about 3 weeks ago before the con, you moron.
Yeah, he seemed like he was really thrilled
Starting
about
to
that.
fight.
Oh, yeah, it's in the middle of a room full of people and I'm screaming at him. I'm like,
Beauty. All right,
oh, yeah, it was a good time.
Lloyd, what do we got next?
Let's see.
Sorry, Chad.
From Shane Beauregard.
Shane from the Media Mosh
Yeah.
podcast. I couldn't get that out.
I guess there was any three people you could have a drink with, like maybe in a bar or something. Who would they be?
Dead or alive?
Dead or alive?
I believe so.
You start this one off.
Oh, okay. How about Jesus and I don't know. I got that.
All right, we'll get back to you. I think I know at least one of John's for sure.
Oh, go ahead. Tell me what it is.
John Wayne.
Ooh.
Maybe. I don't know. We probably wouldn't agree on certain political situations.
It's all right.
Yeah,
You can
that's
still
all right.
talk.
That's all right.
I don't know. There's a great picture that showed up not too long ago of Steve McQueen,
Ooh.
just plowed out of his ass with both his arms wrapped around John Wayne, and John Wayne's like looking at it like, oh, what the fuck is happening here?
He's touching me.
It's a great picture. I don't know. I would probably rather sit down with Humphrey Bogart. If I could sit at a table with Humphrey Bogart and Marilyn Monroe and I don't know. We'll throw Eisenhower in there too. Why not?
Wow.
I'll go with Stephen King.
It'd be a lot of fun.
Stephen King, okay.
Yeah. Jesus.
Jesus 2 times?
No,
Two
just
Jesuses?
one. Just one of
Okay.
those.
But
Like baby Jesus
I
and
hear
then
there's
full-
two different
Not baby,
Jesuses.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like maybe
6 pound, 7 ounce baby Jesus.
You want Jesus before the cross and Jesus after the cross is what
probably,
you want?
Yeah, you want Jesus after the rock moves.
Yeah.
All right, that's understandable.
And Sean Connery.
Sean Connery, yeah, he'd probably fucking drink you under the table.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then punch you in the face. What are you fucking looking at, Lloyd Crane?
You've got a copy of the
You've
Avengers, don't you?
You've seen.
I want it.
You've seen. I'm gonna burn all of them. I'm gonna burn them all. The OG Avengers.
What was that? Was that Zolgar or some movie with the
Oh,
Z?
no.
Fucking
Is he in a bikini?
Zardoz.
Zardoz is. You've never seen
I
it?
still haven't seen it.
Oh my god! Talk about a fucking freaky fucking movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, fucking odd.
Sit down and watch Zardoz.
Zardoz.
I'm not Zed.
Don't lose your head, Highlander.
Look at my hairy ball sack and Zardoz.
All right, what else we got?
You didn't answer.
Oh, did I not answer that? Jeez.
Yeah, sit down, man. Who you gonna sit with?
My grandfather, my mother's father,
Mhm.
who passed away. No, that's,
See, that's punchy.
well, I'm being honest.
Well, no, I mean, I if I was thinking family shit, I'd sit down with half my uncles.
Okay, all right. So
My dad.
that's fair. Okay, so I guess Jesus, I know these are the questions I think people think about, and I don't think I ever think about. Freddie Mercury.
Ooh.
That dude seems like he lived a life and could probably be he'd be not even just a drink, like a whole night of partying, and not like I'm not talking about the kind of partying Freddie would probably end up eventually wanting to have with me because I'm kind of hot. But
Yeah.
no, but I mean just waving
that brown flag.
the stories about him having parties where he had dwarves walking around with mirrors of cocaine attached to their heads.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard that?
Yeah.
Crazy shit like that. Yeah, I don't know. Jim Henson.
Yeah.
Jim Henson, man. I mean, and he probably wouldn't even drink. We would just have some waters. But just to talk to him and delve into his mind and just have, what I want Jim Henson to do, and I know that's like a performer thing and they might not want to do it. I would want him to just Jim, let's talk, and then can you just do a couple of the voices for me? Can I hear Kermit coming straight out of your mouth?
Yeah,
that would
right.
that would blow
That
my
would be
socks
awesome.
off.
I'd be like, Jim, there's this thing.
Not easy.
There's no such thing as a wait and see attitude. Just go to the hospital, man.
Jim Henson had a wait and see attitude. Now we've got wrong sounding Muppets.
Yeah.
And
geez,
I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, Jesus is a good answer, and I'm not even religious. Jesus is a good answer because, my God, the amount of conversation you can have with that guy, in terms of
For sure.
Was your dad God?
Right?
Were you
That's
just
what I mean.
were you just the ultimate nice guy?
I know it all,
What is happening? You know what I mean? I don't know. So
I'd be like a guy hey, Pontius Pilate, let's go sit down and have a beer.
yeah, really, yeah.
Here's your 30 pieces of silver.
Here's your silver pilot.
You can have a glass of water and say, bartender, and he but no, I got that.
I got that.
I drink wine.
I got that. Yeah. So as not even a religious guy, I think that's a good answer. So, all right. What's the next question?
This comes from the Countdown Pod. I think you might like this.
Yeah, Aussies.
What infuriates you guys about the other guys?
Ooh, I got a few. I got a couple. Infuriates is kind of heavy.
Yeah, it's a little heavy.
Infuriates is heavy. Lloyd, you start.
You want me to?
You start.
Dramatic pause.
I'll start with Sir John.
Fine.
What the fuck? Iron Fist? Come on.
What?
You don't like movies that everybody should like, and
Oh.
then you like weird things that people don't like.
So?
Yeah, man. That's all I could come up with.
I would honestly say with John, the thing on the service that infuriates me is kind of what you said is I can never tell. I just don't know. The whole story,
The seriousness.
the
of,
20-minute ago
yeah.
story of the night thing. Is
Yeah.
it real? I don't know. I feel like I should be able to know. I wonder
Yeah,
if
I should've went there
I
with
wonder
it,
if
yeah,
I
that's-
ask him off of camera or off the podcast if he would give me
No,
the answer.
I said that this would be true answers, so
All right.
I gave you true answers.
But your eyes are full of shit.
Well, that's
I don't
'cause
think you're a
that's 'cause they're
liar.
brown.
I don't think you're a liar, but you have I don't know. You get them eyes.
I got them eyes.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah, there should be a song.
I don't know.
These eyes,
Yeah.
I'm trying to think with Lloyd. Is there anything with Lloyd that really, the one that infuriates me about you, and it has nothing to do with the show,
Uh-oh.
is just you never remember your glasses anywhere.
Oh, I know.
I'm so sick of hearing you say I forgot my glasses.
Oh, I hate it.
When you say it, I literally am getting I now when we were at TriffCon last week, you went, oh, I forgot my glasses, and I just felt like saying, do you need someone to fucking get you like one of those like old lady chains?
I need an old lady chain.
Right? What was her? Who's the resident Golden Girls fan? Sophia. Didn't she have one of those? Like, every old Italian grandmother. That's what infuriates me about you.
Yeah,
I hear you. Is fucking like do something with your glasses. God damn it.
Do something with my eyes.
Yeah.
My eyes suck.
No, mine. We don't want to get there with me. It's it's rough. It's rough. All right. So let me see if I have anything left over. Okay, I have one. This is an actual question that I came up with that I think is pretty good. Both of you guys. Do you prefer, because they're two totally different things, do you prefer recording the podcast or listening to it?
Recording.
Oh, wow.
It's pretty simple. I mean, I honestly, compared to From the Hip, I have listened to less than 30% of our episodes.
Well, that's hurtful.
It's just because of time.
You son of a bitch. That infuriates me.
I only listen to them to edit them.
Right, and honestly, I mean, because I listen to every single one of those episodes multiple times, and this, I just don't have the time anymore. And then, even the radio show, I hardly ever re-listen to them after we put them out.
There's some radio shows I still haven't heard yet. So.
No, I know if you want.
Yeah.
No,
all right.
you don't have.
Yeah, give me a stick. All right, what do you got?
Give me the stick, man.
I'm gonna say slightly more recording, but I still listen to them.
Yeah.
And like the last one that came out this week, whenever this comes out, but Crunchy Frankenstein. I just had such a blast listening to that.
Well, I mean, just recording it was ridiculous.
Yeah, recording it was great. Listening was great too.
That's the one I've been waiting for, so I could hear how you edited it together.
Yeah.
Fuck that word, edited.
That is one of the hardest. Every time I've ever tried to say that to somebody, I can't get it out the first time.
Yeah, it's like saying
edited.
Yeah.
But it's like it does not. You have to work at saying.
But
that.
then you got to say the word it.
Yeah. Edited it. I got it out. Holy
fucking
shit.
English.
Yeah, it's not easy. Well, you know, you know what? We're very low on power.
Okay.
So we're gonna make this the very end of the show. We pretty much have gone over stuff. We're at an hour anyway.
Hey, if you got any more questions, send them anyway. Maybe we'll answer them at the 200th episode.
That's right. So you've been listening to Piney Comics. This has been our 100th episode. You get to learn a little bit more about us. Fun. Lloyd, Manster.
See ya.